Thanks for joining me for yet another unboxing video, and today we have some more RPG goodness. We have an expansion for Twilight 2000, The Black Madonna, brought to you by Free League. Again, you need a copy of the core box set of Twilight 2000 to enjoy this expansion. When I was a kid, my best friend was named Donald Kaminsky. I was over at his house for dinner once when his great aunt Lucia was visiting. She was this crazy lady from the old country who spoke hardly any English. After dinner, she gave me a little card with a picture on one side and printing on the other. I thought it was a Polish baseball card or something, but it was an old-time picture of Mary and the baby Jesus. Don's dad said that it was a holy picture. He read the stuff on the back to me. It was all about the painting, which was called Our Lady of Czestochowa, and had all sorts of neat stuff about sieges and battles, and thieves being struck dead as they tried to steal the painting. I loved it. I never dreamed I'd ever hold the real Black Madonna in my hands someday. The Black Madonna is a campaign expansion for the 4th edition of Twilight 2000, based on the classic adventure with the same title for the 1st edition of the game. This new and updated supplement is written by the original author Frank Fay and Chris Keeling. This box set includes new rules, new weapons, an overview of the Silesia region of Poland, new encounters, new factions for the PCs to tangle with, new scenario sites to explore, and details on the Black Madonna itself and its secrets. And then table of contents. Of course, this was released in 2004 by Free League. For more information, go to freeleaguepublishing.com. I picked this up at Powell's when I was visiting over in Portland, Oregon. Powell's bookstore, one of the greatest bookstores I've ever been to in my life. It was $39.99 brand new, but they did give me a 15% discount because I am a teacher. So let us crack this bad boy open and see what kind of goodness we have on the inside. Again, as I continue to remind you that this is an expansion for Twilight 2000 role-playing game. You need a copy of the core rulebook in which to enjoy this expansion. Let us roll on. Let's crack this bad boy open and see what kind of goodness we have on the inside. And even though these boxes are small, there is so much stuff included on the inside. So right off the bat, we've got our Free League catalog, again, with all the different options of role-playing games that they have to offer, from Dragonbane to Blade Runner, The Walking Dead, One Ring, Alien, Lord of the Rings, Corollas, Fasten, Mutant Year Zero, Forbidden Lands. Speaking of Twilight 2000, there's a copy of the core box set. If you want to use this expansion, the Black Madonna, you need to have a copy of this right in front of you. Then Tales of the Loop, Symbaroum, and Morkborg, all brought to you by the great people over at Free League. All right, so let's see what else we got here. Again, you always have a bunch of stuff, including a packet of silica gel. Make sure you don't eat that. All right, so let's start off by looking at our, as we always do, with our rule book, the Black Madonna. So this is your, again, it's a rather sizey. Again, one thing I always mention about Twilight 2000, even though this is a role-playing game, oftentimes I use miniatures and terrain to show, especially when you're talking about fighting in the inner city, in the open areas. We were talking about line of sight, range. It becomes a lot difficult. So I've always considered Twilight 2000 to be a role. Of course, it's a role-playing game, but I also consider it a miniatures role-playing game. So in other words, when I'm going through my adventures, I always make sure they have some terrain set up. This way, especially during combat, when they're moving from place to place, not so much. But when they're having combat, I always have some terrain put together. This way, I know where the line of sight is. I can see where you can put a nest where a sniper's hiding at. All different kinds of things that just kind of make it easier to handle the combat scenarios that pop up. because it's a lot when you're fighting in something like Dungeons and Dragons, where you pop into a room and it's an open room and you guys are fighting hand-to-hand combat. You don't necessarily, you can see that in your mind, but when you're talking about in a firefight inside a city, it could be a little bit more difficult. So again, I've always considered this a role-playing game, of course, but of course I also have I use it with miniatures, because I like to add in different figures, and I also like to add in some tanks and stuff like that when it's appropriate for this setting that we're talking about. Of course, adding on here, let's open this up here, and we have, of course, we have our table of contents, rules in gear. Of course, the photos and the artwork inside the book is always breathtaking. So again, now they're talking about minefields, different things of that nature, different anti-personnel, anti-tank, overgrown weeds, everything that you would need in an open battleground, as you see right here in that photograph. Anti-tank mines, anti-personal mines, different kinds of mines all over the place. Then we're talking about underground combat, different types of weapons that you can have. Silesia, the city that you're going to go and investigate. They got a big map for you. You talk about geography, the towns, important towns that are around, surrounding towns. Lots of information about the towns that you'll encounter prior to getting to your location. Silesian encounters. Again, different encounters will be included. Now you have your deck of cards, which is right here, that you'll use here for encounters. I'm not going to go through this whole thing here, but again, it's based on a regular card deck. And then you have some rumors that could be circulating around, radio chatter, just like you do in the other expansions that have been put out. You have the Silesian factions again. You have your different leaders, you have your non-player characters that you're going to encounter, your different generals, your different politicians, your defense force, your Silesian Corps, your U.S. Armored Cavalry might be in the area, Soviet Guards, Tank Division, Soviet Special Signals Detachment. So again, you're running into a whole bunch of different characters in this here expansion. So you have the DIA, you have the CIA, you have the GRU, which is Soviet intelligence, the DIA, which is U.S. intelligence, CIA, which is U.S. intelligence. You have Liga Handova, which is civilians, the KGB, which is Soviet intelligence, GRU, Soviet intelligence. Then you move on to the actual, then you get down to the actual scenario, which is the Black Madonna. Gives you an overview, the history behind it, the hook, the finale, the Miro, the background information about the man who saw too much. Again, I'm not going to go into too great a detail because I do not want to ruin anything for anyone. So you have Miro Castle, you have Miro itself, Stejania Cave, Bobolis Castle, you have key locations, you have your non-player characters that you're going to run into. Pope John Paul II, what happens next? You have scenario sites. The nuclear bunker, and the map for that. You have the dam, and a map for that. The Silesian farm, and you got a map for that. And the families and everything else you need to know about those areas. The gold mine. And here's the gold mine under the ground. You have the index of where you find everything. And then you have some open pages in the back here. So again, when you're going through the adventure, you use the core book inside here to give you all the information that you would need for each part of the scenarios. The 6 or 7 different scenarios that are available to you. Right? Yep. This would be scenario 7, right? 6. No. Okay. There you have it. Again, there is your rule book. You also receive this, which looks like it is the diary of Staff Sergeant James B. Crenshaw, Outlaw Troop 4th Squadron, 3rd Armored Cavalry Regiment of the United States. So this is some information here as well, which is really cool. I have to read through that. Not yet, because I don't want to ruin anything. You have your encounter cards. Again, these are the cards that you use during your encounters. You have a daytime encounter and you have a nighttime encounter. So it's 2 encounters per each time that you play on a daily basis. So as you're moving from grid to grid, you will have encounters. I'm not going to read all the information. The cards are set up identically each card, where it'll have your suit, have your number, it'll have the title, then all your information, a photo, and then our artwork, and then all your information you need to know there. All of your icons and everything are explained to you in the core rulebook. So you need a copy of the core rules to use this expansion, as I've said a multitude of times. Okay, so we continue moving on. I'm just going to shuffle these just a little bit so we have a general idea. And then we're going to take some at random. So let me see how many total cards are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 16. So I'll take a couple cards out of here just to show you what they look like. So I'll just read them off real quick before I do that. So we have Rad Dude, Toll Booth Ahead, Unhappy Campers, Send in the Clowns, Drunk and Disorderly, Near Miss, One Shot, 5 Kills, Relic of War, Two Roads Diverged, Trailer for Sale or Rent, Land of Zombie Cakes, Hotel California, Firecrackers, Wolverines, Chain Gang, and Field of Nightmares. So let's take a couple of these out here. Wolverines! Faction Soviet number 1. A distant rumbling noise with a shrill whining undertone presages the appearance of presages the appearance of a Soviet Mi-24V Hind-E helicopter. The helicopter has no rockets, so it'll make a single strafing pass with its 12.7mm machine gun before continuing. If you have access to the Urban Operations expansion, which we've done an unboxing for, you can use the rules for Hind helicopter found on page 84. So we have a helicopter that will be attacking you, possibly doing a strafing run. Another encounter. Trailer for Sale or Rent. Faction is Marauders, numbers, player characters times 1. So if you have 4, it'll be 4 Marauders. The PCs pass a rundown farmhouse with a woman standing outside, raking a barren garden. She waves half-heartedly at them. If they stop, she offers food for them. The Soviets and the Marauders have already taken everything she had, and she has nothing left. In fact, if any of them take her up on this offer, they will be ambushed by a group of Marauders who are hiding in the building. Encounters. There are 2 roads diverged. Faction Civilian number 1. A gunshot is heard, and the PCs find a trader who just shot one of his horses after it broke its leg. The trader has clothing, pots and pans, and buckets, but only 1 reload for his hunting rifle. If the PCs help him, he offers them an RPG-7V with 1 rocket. He also asks for a blessing from the Lady of Chastawa on the group. So it's a positive one. And we'll take the last one, which we'll take this one right here. Your encounters. Relic of War. An M113 with a broken track reliability 0 rests in a farm field. The crew has placed booby traps, fragmentation hand grenades with tripwires under the hatches before abandoning the vehicle. There are some salvageable engine parts and a dead crewman inside who apparently shot himself with his M1911A1 reliability 3, which has no ammo. So there you go, that's an encounter. So there are your encounter cards that are included in this expansion. Then we also have our maps. So here's your first map. This looks like an underground cavern. That's one side, and the other side. Looks like a peninsula. Interesting. Oops. I got another map. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Happens sometimes when you deal with these maps. Okay. Okay. So in other words, if I'm doing it under this area here, let's just say I put this in here like this, so it connects here like that. If I'm using a map like this, I won't use figures necessarily, and I won't necessarily use the setting up terrain and stuff like this, because this is more traditional, like Dungeons and Dragons. When I'm talking about City Fight and doing things where it's happening, where there's buildings and stuff, then I'll usually set up the terrain. So here we go, we got this. And flipping to the other side. Some ruins. Okay. Ooh, this is the dam. Very cool. So we have the road coming in. Very cool. This is the farmhouse that they were talking about. These are part of the different scenarios that you have here, different scenarios that are going to be going through for the Black Madonna adventure. Again, that stuff's all located right here in your tome. Again, more stuff that's happening underground. Looks like there's a railroad system or some sort of coal mining shaft where they have some carts that are rolling back and forth. So that's pretty cool too. And our final map, which will be of Miro. So we take a look at that. That's the map legend. And it goes from 1 to 20 on this side and A through O on the bottom. You have built up open road and woods. And there you have Miro on one side. And on the other side, you have, looks like a broken wall there, but it looks like you have a pretty large, I'm not sure what this would be, like a plantation or something, an open area. Again, that's your center point, pretty much right there. There's your bottom part. Looks like your guard posts at every corner. So there you have it right there. So again, here you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 double-sided maps. You have your encounter cards. You have the diary from Staff Sergeant James B. Crenshaw. And you also have your new rule book. Once again, you need a copy of the core rules and the core box set for Twilight 1000 to use this expansion. You also have your silica gel and you have your Free League Games catalog as well. This is everything that's included, and this concludes our unboxing of Twilight 2000, the Black Madonna. This is an expansion for Twilight 2000, the role-playing game. This was released in 2024 by Free League. For more information, go to freeleaguepublishing.com. And as always, thank you so much for joining me for this unboxing video. It's truly appreciated. If you enjoyed the video, you could always give us a thumbs up, leave a comment below. You could also hit that subscribe button. This way you'll be kept up to date as to any time release new content to the page. As always, thank you so much for joining us. Be safe, be well, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll catch you on the next unboxing video.